Hey, hey.
Hi. What's up?
Oh my gosh, girl. The weather is it's been like bringing me down. I don't know.
I
It's,
like the sunshine, but the cold can
oh,
go.
is it sunny at your house today?
Oh yeah, the sun is bright here.
I know. Here it's like total clouds.
No, it's super bright.
It was sunny yesterday and I loved it, but today and I don't like spring is probably my least favorite season.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Winter would be mine. I hate cold.
I love summer and I love fall. Winter I like way better than spring. I don't like it when it's wet and cold and
Mm,
gray. And I feel like spring is like that. And I don't like all the back and forth. I just want it to be,
either warm or cold.
yeah. Like
Yeah,
my body
I don't
can't
know.
regulate.
I feel like Ohio in general is like that all year long though. It's either, especially winter, fall, winter, spring, it's like you have really warm days and then you have really cold days. It's annoying.
Yeah.
Um, So let's get into this. Did you watch the reunion? I forgot to even ask you if you watched.
Oh, yes.
Okay, let's do Farmer first because I feel like if we start Love Is Blind, we'll never get off of Love Is Blind.
Yeah. Okay. Um,
And I really like it. I love Farmer Wants a Wife. I love their setup for the most part. Minus like it could be another hour for me because I feel like we miss a lot for that. Like we don't really get to see a lot of like conversations necessarily. It's like
yeah, I know. And I
real
will tell
calm.
you, I agree. It's kind of like, I mean, it's an easy, fun little show to watch, but it's like
Yeah,
definitely you don't get in the depths with
right.
relationships.
Next week is my favorite date though. I love when they all go to the barn and do a barn dance. I love it when like they have the actual mixers and everybody's together. I think those are so
Uh-huh. Those are fun because everyone see like then they all see each other again, and yeah, I like that too. And I like when they do like rodeos and things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do too.
Um, so one thing that I didn't mention last time that I just thought of is I want. Do you know why Jennifer Nettles isn't doing the?
No, I don't. I don't.
I mean, I like this girl that's doing it, like Father of the Bride. I don't remember her name, but
Yeah.
I
I
don't.
really like Jennifer Nettles, so
Yeah, I really miss her because I just thought she was.
her voice was really
Yes,
good.
and it was like perfectly fitting. I felt like for her to be the host of it.
Yeah, I really liked her. I thought she was fun when she got everybody together, which obviously we haven't seen that yet. Like
Mhm.
Kimberly, what is it? Kimberly Williams Paisley, she hasn't like
Right.
gotten together with them yet. I did really like the date thing though, like getting to meet their friends earlier. I thought that was a good idea. I hope they get to meet their friends again later on just to see like if
Yeah.
their opinions change or if there's more progression with the dates.
Right. So I definitely had a couple of things. Like for one, and I like wrote this down. Samantha, I've got a bone to pick with her again.
Yeah, she's funny.
She
That
was
was
like,
funny.
she said, I'm sure I'll impress his friends. And then later she was like, right after that, she's like, I could care less if I impress them or not. And I'm just like, and she said that she doesn't want to live in the country. Like she wants to
Yeah,
live in a city and she thinks she should get a say in this. And I'm like, why the fuck are you on Farmer Wants a Wife?
I
Like
know. I find
he's
it
a
weird.
farmer.
Like maybe she tried out for The Bachelor and then it didn't work out. So she's like, I'll just try out for another one.
Yeah, like I don't so first of all, I just didn't understand like if she even just didn't get what kind of show she's on. Like, hello. And then like being upset that, well, if he wants to be at the driver's seat of this decision, of course he does. He's like a freaking farmer. I mean, like that's what he does.
Yeah.
But then when she was like
Yeah.
acting like I don't know. Like it's just her attitude, and I'm sure she has walls up and stuff. I just wanted to know what you thought of the whole thing because I didn't understand her saying, "Of course I'll impress them, but I could care less if I impress them," and then telling them that she wants to live in the city. And
Yeah, I just think she's funny. I think she's very confident. Like, good for her. I hope that's confidence is what it is. I don't know. I wish I was that confident. But I
do you
think,
think she's confident?
oh yeah, you don't think that that attitude is like
I
confidence? What
think
would you call it?
I think a lot of times that kind of attitude is just a lot of walls up because you really maybe aren't that confident, or maybe you're like,
It could be. I guess I have a hard time relating to that because I'm not a confident person and my attitude is way different than, than that. Like, yeah, but I wear my not confidence on my sleeve, I would say, probably more than
I think some
like,
people go to like control and not acting like they don't care about things
yeah.
when really they do.
Yeah, I can't relate to that very well because I just am like on the complete other end of that. Um, Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's funny these girls go on the show and then they're like, there's not going to be a lot of compromise as far as like the living situation goes. Like,
Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, I think,
for them to like put themselves out there, like, yeah, maybe the farmer would buy a house like 30 minutes away from the farm or something just to compromise and make her happy. But like 99% of the time, the farmer lives on the farm because he has to go out and check animals like all the time and
and they're to break
whatever.
it on to be there and stuff. And I agree. Like if something happens in the middle of the night, or if you have like, I don't know, a cow that goes into labor and you have to get out there. Like, I don't know. I think co-creating in relationships is super important. But I want that too. I think people need to be able to like
Yeah.
how to create something together. It's just some things are unrealistic, which makes me think, do you really want to be married at all if you're putting this block up about, like, you say you want to be married, but you went on a show that you already know you're not gonna kiss
Yeah.
the guy, you're not gonna open yourself up to him, and you don't want to live where he lives, and that's
Yeah.
his, like, his job isn't movable.
But clearly the dude likes it. I think
I
he's real
know.
invested in that. But he was kind of like a little crappy, I thought, when he was talking to Chloe. And Chloe was like, talking about how wonderful her mom is. And she's like, she's just the best mom or something. And he's like, well, it's not a competition. And I was like, ugh, run, girl, run. Like, he
Yeah.
missed your like lighthearted, like fun. Obviously, he doesn't relate to that. He relates more to Samantha's type, who's like, I'm not
Right.
kissing you.
But do you think that's because he wants something to conquer? Like, I'm always fascinated.
That could be. That could be. That's a really good perspective because he's a little different than the other boys, I feel like. I feel like he's a little more like, I don't know. Like Colton seems like he's this little puppy dog that just like wants to kiss everybody. And then I feel like, isn't it Matt, the one that lives on the avocado? Is that
I
right?
think, yeah,
I
I'm on that with it.
really like him. I feel like he's like really grounded and down to earth.
Yeah, I like him
And
too.
then Jay, I feel like he's pretty grounded and down to earth.
But back to Matt,
And it's
think
interesting to me.
do you think he, he took, I always want to call her Haley and it's not.
Yeah. Hello. Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
hello.
Hello. I don't know.
We don't know how to say her name. Hello, something. Anyway, um, she's a beautiful girl. Do you think that they have something more than friendship? Because they were on the date still, like when it ended, I think, right? We
They
didn't
were
see
on
her.
Jay's date when like
But
the
I mean,
episode ended. Well,
yeah,
I
but
think
I
they had
mean,
wrapped up though. I think they were done because they were like walking away. Because I remember I was trying to decide like if they were gonna hold hands or touch or not, and they really didn't. So I don't know.
Right, right. I mean, we didn't, what I meant was like we didn't see the outcome of his thoughts.
Oh, like whether he picks her or like keeps her on the farm or not. I felt like he
Yeah, or
actually like they deepened their connection or whatever. I don't know. I liked that they actually had a real conversation though and tried to actually get to know each other and talk to each other versus because of the way it's filmed, like I don't know, I almost feel like Jay when he was talking to the Miami girl at the end, he was more like thinking about his own observations and judgments instead of like off of conversations. Because I don't really feel like I've seen them actually have like conversations. It's more of like she doesn't like this and she doesn't like that, or like Matt and Hillel's conversation was like a real conversation.
no, it was. There was something that I did pick up on with Chloe, since I know you mentioned her. And
Yeah,
she
I
was,
really felt for her.
well, she was saying like that she really hopes that she checks all of his boxes. Like she was saying this at the beginning, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I just kept thinking, girl, girl, like, why are you not thinking about, does he check my boxes? Does
Yeah,
and what about things that you can't put in a box that are intangible, that are just, you feel them and you know, and it's not like a check mark on paper. It's something bigger than that. And so I guess like,
yeah,
I don't know. I know we talk a lot about maturity and different, like that comes up a lot in our conversations on these, about these shows. And I don't know if it's a maturity thing or just, you know, because I think women from the time they're little girls are conditioned to be like, am I a good little girl? Do I fit in? So she would be thinking like, do I check his boxes? Oh my gosh, do I have approval? Do I have approval from him? And like, I
I
do
think
think that it's,
the like design of the show too though is like you're competing for him, and I think sometimes they put him on a pedestal and like only think about what he thinks. I think they forget a lot of times to like think about,
what they
oh
want.
yeah, do I really want to be with him?
Right. That's my thing is it's like, if you're actually being inward focused, which, you know, is the job of a sub, but like, if we brought in that framework. But like if you're being inward focused and you're putting the focus on what's in your pleasure, what you desire, what the dream you're dreaming for yourself is, then do you want to be there? Do you want to be there? Does he meet your needs? Does he see you for who you are? But I guess that kind of makes sense with, if I think back to their group date, like she was kind of, if I remember correctly, seemed, at least from what we saw, a little more quiet. And like,
Yeah.
I think she like, yeah, isn't, or wasn't on the show anyway, as like noticing what she wants and how she wants to show up and being that in that space.
Yeah, I think that's really hard to overcome the obstacle of like I hate to call it a competition, but it kind of is a competition, like the competition piece of it, like to overcome like he's the one in charge. He gets to make the decisions. And I think that they just feel like they lose all of their power in that. Some of them, I'm not saying all of the girls, but some of the girls, I would say, like have that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I just think it would be like, I personally, that would feel so shitty to feel like I had no power. Like, I don't know, like
Yeah.
my
Mhm.
framework is just, if I was there, I would be also thinking like, is this what I want? And I'm here to also see if he's a fit for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's an interesting way to look at things. And I think it would be more fun, more entertaining if the women went into the situation looking for that. I don't know. I think dating in general is hard now. And like,
Yeah.
I don't even remember how old some of these girls are. I feel like they're younger than the ones that were on The Bachelor this season. And, in your mind, you're like, okay, I'm going to get married by this age, and I'm going to do this by that age, and whatever. And then, like, there's really not that many people out there to date. Like, dating is so different now. It's like online, or people don't just like
Girl, you
meet
don't
people
have to tell
organically.
me.
People don't meet organically anymore. And it's like, so I could see some of them going into this situation like being super hopeful that this is it for them.
Why do you think people don't, not like, why do you think it, but I mean, like, what are the reasons you think people don't meet organically anymore?
I think that we all are just like on our phones. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I think
No, I
social
mean,
media.
yeah, I think a lot of people don't. I agree with you that a lot of people don't meet organically. I have been online dating and I refuse to do it anymore. I mean, I would if I really felt guided, but like, it's just, it's just not a framework that I really jive with in any day.
Yeah.
Like I've found friends through online dating, but that like passionate, the intangible thing that you can't,
Hmm.
again, put on a box, like you can't answer a questionnaire and get an intangible spark and passion. And I know we've talked about
Yeah.
the podcast on spark, but like, I wonder if part of it is because I've talked to quite a few guys who say they feel like they can't approach women anymore because they feel like women don't want to be approached anymore.
See, I always like thinking that same thing because I'm like, okay, when we are, watching movies like from the 90s, those are some of my favorite movies. Like lots of people meet organically, like just out and about. And now, I don't know, one of the movies I watched not that long ago, they met because she was texting a phone, it's on Netflix. She was texting a phone number that used to be like her dead boyfriend's phone number, and this guy ended up having it. And that's how they met. And it's like, okay, like that's not even like, I mean, what are the chances of that actually happening? Like 1 in a billion, probably. But, in the 90s, all those movies, like they met at work, or they met in a bar, or they met like different
Yeah.
places. So
I
I
just,
could see how a man probably would feel that way. But do they even try? Like, when was the last time you tried? Did you
well,
actually try?
that's what I'm right. And I've actually asked them that before because I'm just like, well, what do you mean? And they're like, oh, yeah, like women don't like it. If you go up to them, they are rude or they just act like, why are you talking to me? Or like, I also think some of it is, I think some of it shifted when the Me Too thing happened
Mm,
because men started being like afraid that anything they did would be taken wrong. And
yeah.
like women didn't want them to like come on to them or whatever. And for me, it's really challenging because I love a man to like take initiative and be what I would consider like being the man, like take initiative, talk to me,
Hmm.
ask me out. You'll know if I'm interested or not, and be really clear with me about what you want. And so, like, to me, that is attractive. So, if I'm out, like, I don't want to go up to a guy and take on that role. Like, that puts me in a different role, in a different headspace that I don't want to be
Yeah.
in a relationship. So, anyway, I just think it's an interesting concept. And since you brought it up, I was like, I was curious if you see it like similarly in terms of why, because people still go to work and they still go to eat and they still go to a bar, but they're not
Yeah.
talking.
It's just, I don't, yeah. I mean, COVID could be a big thing too. Like they don't want to talk to people. They don't want to get in somebody else's space or whatever because of like the separation that all of COVID like drove into our brains of like, don't talk to each other, stay away from each other. You're infested with germs and you're going to kill everybody. Like,
Yikes.
yeah, it's just
A
a lot of,
mind fuck conspiracy. Yeah, like I didn't. Yeah, I mean, I just like I don't buy into that. But now that you're saying that, I can see how some people would.
Well, and it's not even like I don't even think it's a like an actual like I think about this. I think a lot of
Yeah,
it is probably subconscious. Like all of
yeah, but
these
that's how
all of
mind
these
control happens.
yes, all of these messages are being pushed and it's a very subconscious like shift
Yes.
in the world, which that really like leads me into like my big Love is Blind like
Yeah.
overall
Let's shift. Let's go to
thought
Love is Blind. Let's do
process.
it.
Because I mean, like what I was thinking, and this really came up during the reunion. Like I wrote notes down because I'm like, if you don't write notes down, girl, once it's over, like my brain is like I'm caught up to what I needed to know. So there's
Yeah.
like less anticipation. So I'm not like actively thinking. I'm just like, okay, we talked about this with The Bachelor, but
Yeah, I do that too. I have my notes on my phone for the same reason. And then sometimes I forget to take them too. So they're sporadic. But anyway,
we as a society, this is my opinion. As a society, we have a hard time being able to bridge a gap between your thoughts and ideas, my thoughts and ideas. How can we all coexist and get along? And that goes back to what you're saying about like, why don't men approach women at bars? It's because we have really started to be very rigid on I'm right, you're wrong, basically. And
hmm
like what really set me off there like was Virginia and Devin and then back to like Ben and Sarah, that whole situation. Like Virginia, she just seemed very stiff, very uncomfortable, very like rigid during the whole episode, I felt like. But like when she was
the
sitting there
reunion.
saying, well, I'm not going to tell you I'm not going to tell you his opinions, but I'm going to be very clear on mine, which makes it very clear on, that his opinions don't line up with hers.
Yeah.
So you're still telling us his
Like you
opinion.
might as well have fucking said it. Like,
Yeah.
don't act
Yeah.
like you're being such a great gatekeeper of
Right.
his feelings and opinions.
And I just felt bad for Devin in that aspect because he tried to say it. He's like, I might not agree with you 100%, but that doesn't mean I don't love you. It doesn't mean I don't care about you. It doesn't mean I don't think you're a good person. And I think a lot of our world has lost that ability to be like, you don't agree with me, but I still think you're a fantastic human being. It's like, you don't agree with me, so you're a pile of trash because I'm superior. I'm right. I know everything. My opinions are 100% right. There's no black and white. There's no gray. There's no whatever. And like the reality of being able to build a relationship on those thought processes it won't work with anybody because
You're
especially
never
in my
going to agree.
yeah, and then
100%.
if you have children, you bring children into the mix, you're not going to agree how to discipline a child or raise a child 100% of the time. You're not going to agree, and even money, like children and money are the two biggest things. You're not going to agree 100% of the time about money and the ideas behind money. And if it's like, well, you don't agree with me, so I'm going to take my toys and run,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I just have a very hard time with all of that. Because I
No.
just feel for the person who has a differing opinion. Whether I agree with that person's opinion or not,
Yeah.
I just feel for that person because it's like, you're simple minded, you're small minded, you blah, 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 don't know anything kind of a thing. And like, they're
Can
entitled
you,
to their opinion just as much as you're entitled to your opinion. You
right.
agree with
That,
abortion, he doesn't. Like,
that's what's
that's
missing.
okay.
Right. That's what's missing, in my opinion, is like it's fine for people to have different opinions. And yeah, I'm sure like in a marriage, you are looking for some kind of understanding, or like obviously you want some things that you agree on, or else why, like it probably wouldn't work if you disagreed on every single thing.
Right.
But for me, the bigger, like more important than agreeing exactly on everything is to be able to be curious and understand where another person's coming from and what their perspective is, and be open-minded about it, and understand that, like, my whole thing lately that I've been like the past, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, really, my mantra has been everyone has a good reason for doing what they do. Everyone has a good reason for doing what they do. Because I've been up, like, not up against, but there have been things that have happened that I will get really frustrated, which is one of my not self themes, or angry, which is the other one in human design. And I'll get so frustrated or so angry. And then I realize, oh, like, I'm just angry or frustrated because I don't like how this person's doing this thing, or how they're handling something, but they think they're doing a great job at it. Right. And it's very similar to what you're saying. Like, okay, so this person over here believes, and like, we'll just take Devin and Virginia. Like, Virginia was basically saying she's big on like LGBT rights and stuff, and she's like pro-choice, and basically was saying that Devin isn't, because, and he said, like, he's from a Christian conservative home, and the way he interprets Christianity is more conservative in those areas. And even though she's Christian, her interpretation of those things is different. Okay, so he's not saying nobody should have the right to like live their life how they live it, or I'm going to treat them bad or whatever. He's just saying that just isn't my belief system. And I guess, like, finding a common way to approach differences is part of a skill that's necessary to be married to someone, whatever the differences are.
Yeah.
And for me, the bigger question is like, okay, well, tell me how you honor and value someone and all of who they are. Like, what I would ask if I were Virginia might be, okay, Devin, so just tell me what honoring and valuing that person looks like to you. What does, like, if you don't agree with these things and this is how you vote, like, what does honoring them look like to you?
Yeah, because he did make that comment. Yeah, he loves everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody can do what they want to do, basically, and he loves everybody. Yeah. So what does that actually look like when you put that into practice? What does that actually look like?
Yeah, like, I think that is something that would be important to understand, and also to just know that, like, for instance, I have friends like on a spectrum of, let's just take the pro-choice, like abortion rights thing. Like, some are like, I think that should be illegal, period. Some are like, I think anyone should have access to it at any point in time of their pregnancy, period. Like, there's this huge spectrum. And so, and then there's all this nuance about, like, okay, well, should the states decide it? Should it be decided nationally? Is there, like, how do we make sure people are properly educated and it's safe? I mean, one of the things for me, and I'm pro-choice, but like, I also think there needs to be structures and boundaries and safeguards. I think that's masculine containment around how things are done. And, I have a friend who got an abortion, and like, they literally gave her like a pill and said she was basically gonna like have this, like, it was going to make her go into early labor, and it just to go to the bathroom, don't look at it, and flush the toilet. That was their advice. And there was no emotional support, no mental health support, no, like, nothing. Like, that isn't a good answer either, right? Like, even though I'm pro-choice, like, that's not the way to handle it, the way it's being handled. So there's such a spectrum. That's my point. Like, I know we're kind of getting in the weeds, but there's just such a spectrum is my point. And like being able to see all the sides of it. You're right. I agree with you. Like there's um a real problem. I don't know if it's worldwide, but definitely in America, of people being able to hold space for a different opinion than their own.
Yeah, I'm sure in other countries it's just different because we live in such a privileged society that uh other countries probably are arguing over like, does the man carry the water bucket to the watering hole or does the woman? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I think sometimes we maybe take for granted all of the opportunities given to us here, and then we just can't even respect people where they are or respect them like with an opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. And I'm not saying I'm innocent. Like, I can be like, oh, I don't agree with that. But I'm not, I don't know. I guess I would hope if I was in this situation, I would just be able to say, we just didn't align in some areas that are big for me to align with.
Right. And that's okay. You don't have to make another person wrong
Yeah.
just because you don't agree or because they live their life differently. Like that doesn't mean that they're wrong and you're right. It just means you have different perspectives and and it's okay to have certain things that you're like, we have to align on this. My partner has to align with me on this. It feels that big. Like
Yeah.
it's okay if you have that and you want that, but then can you also not make the other person wrong just because
Mhm.
they didn't perfectly align with you? And I do think that there is in our society something with if you are more, I use this term very loosely because I don't think the liberals are liberal. Okay. I'm just going to say
Yeah.
that before I say it because I'm liberal and I looked at the liberals during COVID and I thought it was fucking joke. They were not being liberal. They were not my body, my choice. So I'm using this loosely, but in our society, it's very like if you're a liberal, then you're like better than, or you know more and you're more evolved. And when I look at some of the standpoints and the viewpoints of the quote unquote liberals, the Democrats, I can look at that and see they're actually like not doing, like to me, it's not honoring the whole person at all. It's not being liberal. It's not like, so who says what is and isn't the right thing? Like who, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it's,
Yeah.
and who says that, your way's the right way or it makes you better than or more evolved? Because like I can see another level of evolution past what they're seeing that makes them think they're evolved.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting too. Now that we're talking about this, it's like the women have this certain perspective and opinion that makes them elevated above the man. And that's not going to make a great relationship because the masculine needs to feel that masculine power instead of feeling like a moron because the feminine thinks he's a moron. And
Right. Women
even
get
if you,
mad. Oh, sorry. Women get mad because that they feel like, oh, my man doesn't do all this stuff and my man's not masculine. My man's not manly. Yeah. You cut his dick off when you acted this way and did all of these things. And then you're mad that he doesn't have a dick.
yeah,
And it's like, I'm not saying that men should sit back and like let a woman do that to them, but I'm saying the woman does have some responsibility in that. And I agree with you 100%. It's like if you want to be well domed, then choose a great dom and let him. You can dom from the bottom as a sub, and you can lead and guide. That is your role, but doing it in a way that you still trust the dom to dom you well.
Yeah. Like, so I have a couple things. So like even even simple arguments that you don't align with, or simple things, like sometimes, for example, in my household, it's like the tone. Like I hear it one way, but him saying it, he doesn't feel like he's saying it the way I'm hearing it. So like even little things like that, if you're not able to um, go back to that person has a different perspective than you, then you're never going to be able to work any situation out. Even the smallest, like pettiest arguments, you'll never be able to work it out because of your superior, I'm right kind of a thing. Because, like, when Sarah brought up the point about Ben, and she's like, I just like wanted to see that he was even curious. I don't remember if it was the reunion or it was like after the wedding, and he like didn't show any curiosity and didn't show any growth and blah blah blah. And I'm like, there's just a couple things to that. Like, first of all, these are things that are very important to you. So like, he's a man. First of all, they are not focused on what's important to a woman necessarily, unless, like you're saying, you're using your feminine power in a way that gets their attention. Like, you can't
Well,
just sit
he
in a
should be putting his
corner.
attention on you anyway. He should be.
Yes, but you can't just be sitting in the corner being like, I wish he would, be curious about my opinions on, Black Lives Matter and all these other
Yes.
things,
Yes.
and just sit over here and fester and stew and whatever without doing your role in it. Like, it's a two, like when you get married, it's a two-person role of a dance and a flow and a movement. And it's
Yeah.
not just like his job to be like, what do you need? What do you want? What are you thinking? How can I grow? How can I change? How can I do all these things? Like, that's just not.
Right.
And maybe she had all these conversations with him and we missed them. I
Mm.
I don't know, but I mean, she kind of alluded to like, well, in the pods we talked about it, and you would have thought he would have been more curious with me. Like,
But
I know what
did
my
you?
husband thinks about. My husband thinks about working on vehicles. He thinks about making money for his family and providing for his family. He doesn't think about all the little Emily thoughts that go through
Right.
my brain all day long, because his
Right.
focus is like providing and survival and all of that.
Yes.
Where like it's my
Yes.
job, if I want him to know me more and want to know what I think, then I have to help guide him and get
Yeah.
him to the place where he's like receiving that information.
Yeah. And one of the gifts that feminine energy offers, and I know we've talked about this before, is curiosity. So if you want to bring a man into that world, be curious with him about what he believes in, his thoughts, and really open and curious, which true curiosity doesn't come with judgment. It comes with true, I want to know you. I want to understand this. I am curious. And there isn't a judgment of your answer better align with mine. I'm listening to hear if it does.
Yeah.
It's
Mm-hmm.
just, I am really curious what you believe. And I did feel like Ben, I'll just say I didn't buy it when he was like, I didn't know what my church believed about this or
Yeah,
whatever.
there were a couple things he said, him
Like,
and Alex, and I was like, y'all
yeah,
don't hide this well at all. Like,
right. Because I'm thinking,
better than anybody else.
it's okay to say, in my opinion, it's fine to say, look, my church as a whole believes this is wrong. I don't. So I just overlook it when they say that because it's really like, it doesn't matter what they think because I live my life the way I want to live it. And I'm okay going there because I get enough out of going there and my friendships or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about this before. Oh, yeah, because the last podcast we kind of had to end it. Like
Yeah.
for some people, that's enough for them to go to church. They're like, I'm getting enough out of it and I can overlook these things. For me, and I don't remember, I know you and I texted about this a little bit after, and I don't remember the exact words I used. So if you do, you can help me. But for me, it's like, I don't want to waste my time going, my ceremony time is sacred to me.
Yeah, to you,
So,
it's like on a whole other level, is what I was understanding. Like, it's a complete, full immersion of yourself and an experience when you do this. And I feel like that's abnormal. Like, because that was kind of inspiring to me when you were talking. And I don't mean it like, I think it's abnormal in the fact that, like, we live in a very lukewarm
mhm,
society, a very lukewarm world where we just are going around just, floating and like wanting to stay in this warm like bath. And like we're afraid of the temperatures getting hotter or colder. And like where you
mhm.
are not afraid of the temperature getting hotter or colder. Like you're ready to like experience it and really get into it. And I feel like, yeah, I just was kind of inspired by that because I'm like, man, I think that is the right approach to like my faith, and I really should be digging deeper into what I believe and what I feel and making it this big deal because that's what it's supposed to be.
What a beautiful, I'm about to cry. Like, what a beautiful reflection you just gave me of my, really. And I'm so happy it touched you, but like, and pushed you to like, challenged you deeper in your faith. And it doesn't matter.
And we don't align. I mean,
That's
I
what I
wouldn't
was
say
going
we
to
don't
say.
align, but like
Yeah,
I'm not doing what you're doing and you're not doing what
right.
I'm doing. But I was able to like go, wow, like
Yeah.
let me reflect on my own actions based on like how she's putting herself into her work and her ceremony time and her all like, man, am I showing up in my faith with that same
Hmm.
like,
Mhm.
energy?
Bigger and
Yeah.
yeah. God, I just love that. And I was gonna say the same thing. Like we don't, like have the exact same belief system. And I still love, I want you to go deeper into yours, right? Like
Yeah.
I still love that. And I think when people can understand, because like you're doing in your belief system and your faith, in my faith, and whoever, whatever your faith is, and whatever your ceremony time is, if you really are all in on it and you are um willing to feel the hot and the cold,
Mm-hmm.
it will totally change your life. It will become, because for me it's inseparable from who I am, like, but not in a like, it's just in my bones. It's hard to explain it because it's not in a way of, I know sometimes, at least for me growing up in Christianity, it was like if people would say it's inseparable from who they were, that meant they were just doing all these outside actions to look a certain way. And
Mm-hmm.
they thought everyone else had to do those exact same things in order to be saved or worthy of going to
Yeah.
heaven or whatever. Whereas what I'm saying is, if you just live your belief system and you live your connection with higher power, like I don't want to go sit in a ceremony somewhere where they're saying a bunch of stuff that I'm having to like filter through it all, because that is a distraction from my connection to source. I want to spend that time in my connection to source, not having to like filter through a bunch of stuff and feel and like keep getting pulled out of the connection.
So like just out of curiosity's sake, so let's say you got invited to like you said Buddhist last time, like a Buddhist temple. I feel like you would be open to going into that to experience
Mhm.
that ceremony and that time, but that doesn't mean that like I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that right, but like
Yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like you
like
would
I
still
would
be open to
go.
go experience
Uh-huh.
like different cultures,
Yeah.
but you're not like it's not part of your ceremony time. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes, I could go and enter into that as a cultural experience.
there we go. That's how I want to say that.
Yeah. And as also I might connect. with spirit, God,
You might.
goddess, universe, source energy, it doesn't mean, and I might even be like, God, now I want to come do this more regularly. Who knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I also may just be like, that was a really nice experience and I'm good. Like, that's what I went to a Hindu temple once because, like, I would go there for yoga sometimes. And one of my friends, she and her husband and their son went there. And she invited me to something that they had, and I went in the evening. And it was interesting to observe, and but it didn't resonate with me. Like, I didn't feel connection to
Mm-hmm.
divinity. It was more like, okay, this is like going through motions that are supposed to connect. Not that they didn't feel connected, but like me, like that would be supposed to connect me to divinity, but it doesn't. Like, I
Yeah.
feel it. So I never went back. And she invited me and she's like, oh, if you want to come every week, and I was like, no, I'm good. I really appreciate it. I loved seeing it. And I meant that. Like, it was cool to go see it, but
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't, I didn't feel connected.
Yeah. That's just not how you want to continue to spend your time.
Yeah. And it was, and to me, I don't go into a ceremony for entertainment or to go socialize. Like, if I want to socialize with someone, I'll socialize with them. I don't go there to
Mm-hmm.
see people to be social. Some people do go to church for that. It's not a problem. I'm not making a problem
Yeah.
with it. It's
Yeah.
just,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested in going to church for it to be to see people that I like to see. I'll just like ask them to go somewhere else. And
Kind of like your class reunion. Like I still talk to the people I want to talk to. I don't need to go to my high school reunion to see people that I don't like have any connection with anymore.
yeah,
um,
yeah. And I'm sure some of that's like a personal thing, but I will say I think that I was surprised that Virginia and Devin didn't get married.
I know. I was like jaw
Um,
on the floor, which I kind of knew when she was crying when her one girlfriend was like, "This is wonderful and I'm praying for you." I'm like, "Oh, she's saying no." like but I feel like they set it up like in such a way that you're thinking they're going to say yes cuz I thought Monica and Joey was a yes. Like I don't
yeah,
know. That was all after they all say all their piece at the end. It's like, oh, okay, that makes more sense because we were missing all of these things. Like,
right. But we saw, like with Virginia and Devin, we saw them talking about this stuff, and we did see him kind of not engage about it as much with her, like when she brought certain things up.
yeah,
But we did not ever see that that was a problem for her.
no. And she did make a mention that, like he wanted to talk about stuff off camera. And like, I think that's okay though. Either way, like, I think there's information that you can share with the world, but I also think there's private information that like only your partner deserves to know. Like, just because you're on reality TV doesn't mean that you have to share
Yeah,
everything with everyone. Like, I don't.
right.
What else did you think about the reunion? Like, as far as anything, just give me something.
Well, I thought that Taylor and Daniel, like all their stuff, that I loved that little video they shared. It looks like they've had a really great year together.
hmm
And you know, this is like more lighthearted than what we've been talking about, but I loved, I was like, I made note of it. Because we said last week how her mom was like, it's that wedding dress is showing too much of the girls.
Oh yeah,
She had her tits out at that reunion.
yeah. I thought she looked great. I
I mean,
love
she
that
looked
whole outfit.
amazing, but it was just funny because,
Yeah, I didn't even think about it till you just said that. But yeah, I thought she looked great. That's so funny. I mean,
yeah,
and I feel like too, when you're in a relationship with a man like that and you're married and whatever. Like, I think it's okay to go out in public and be who you want to be with him. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to feel a certain way with your spouse,
You should.
yeah, I think that's like, if you're like, man, I really want to feel like sexy tonight. So you find the outfit that makes you feel the sexiest and you go out with your man. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I think that is so underrated, is just people like feeling how they want to feel and embodying that, and then letting that shine and not worrying about anyone else's opinion of it. Like, and I don't mean, you can energetically feel when someone's doing something for attention or not, you know,
Yes.
like
Yes, you
that's
can.
their purpose, is like
Mhm.
attention. But when it's just oozing out because it's who they are. And it's funny because my life's work and my brand is a gate 8 in human design, and it's a rebel with a cause, it's beauty, it's an exquisite nature, like, and sometimes people have, like, it's made people uncomfortable. But I think the reason it makes people uncomfortable is because they aren't letting themselves truly be, right? Like, I'm shining a light on where they aren't allowing themselves to show up how they want and dress how they want and be
Mhm.
who they want to be. Um, so it's just an interesting dance when it comes to, like, I mean, I think even not in a relationship, women should just shine their bright light and be how they want to be.
Show up how they want to show up. Don't worry about what other people think.
Yeah, yeah. Um, it's a beautiful, beautiful gift that we can all give the world to do that. And I know I do. I
Mhm.
like to dress like, especially when I'm going out on dates and stuff like that, I like to dress sexy for, like for my man. I like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so we talked a lot about Lauren and Dave throughout the whole season.
Yeah.
So
I think Dave has made some growth. I actually wrote that down. And I think that Dave needed to go on this journey for himself. Listen, there's an auction. I feel so distracted. There's an auction up the road from me. And like, there are never vehicles up and down our road because it's like out in the middle of nowhere. There's all these vehicles going by. I'm like, what is happening out there? Anyways, yeah, I think Dave,
I've seen
this
you looking out like a window. I was like,
I
what is
know,
she doing?
like, well, and half of me is like, is that my husband? Did he buy something that he didn't need to buy today? He's at the auction. So I'm like waiting to see if it turns in my driveway.
Mm,
Um, I think that Dave needed to go on this journey to get to where he is going in life. Like, I think
mm.
he'll be okay. I think he'll get married. I think he'll mature and grow. Um, I don't know. Lauren was kind of surprising because it made it seem like she was still like open to it. She's like, "You had my number the last year," and I'm like, "Girl, you would really like be
Well,
open
I
to
think
like discussing this with him?" Like,
so. I took it like she would have been, but given the fact that it's been a year and he didn't reach out and certain things, then she was like, so, the time has passed. It's just done now.
yeah,
But I do feel it was really big of her, and I hate when people say big of somebody. Like, I don't mean it like that. I just mean,
like
like,
understanding.
yes, understanding that she said, like, people have said you were manipulative and a narcissist, like in the comments and stuff on Instagram, and I disagree with that. I don't think you were ever being that way. I just think she was like, I just think I was light years ahead of you in terms
I
of,
think he agreed though. Like,
yeah,
it's
he
so
did.
true. It's so
It
true.
was, yeah,
He just could not. He could not navigate that situation at all. Like, he
yeah.
was so wishy-washy, and like, even when he was talking to the guys and he's like, well, I broke up with her, I think, but I didn't want to make it seem like I was breaking up with her. I'm like, what? what the heck are you talking about,
Like
dude?
people need to clearly understand that.
Yeah, like, are we breaking up or not? Like, what is
Yeah.
happening?
I also
I
thought
was really impressed with him.
you were impressed with Dave.
Yeah, with like
Yeah.
how he handled it and stuff. Because I mean, going into the reunion, he could have gotten like a ton of backlash. Like, I almost feel like that was Ben's fear, was like, because his views don't line up exactly with, like you were saying, with like the superior views of society right now. Like, I think he was afraid he was gonna get, beat up for it. But I think, like, if that's your opinion, then who, I mean, you're putting yourself on a show, so like, who cares? Um, I
Yeah.
did have a note on here though about like Joey blaming Monica's sister for it not working out, and I was just like, I just can't handle that. Like, that irritates me. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter. Like, okay, you're not marrying her sister. Like, yeah, is it more fun to get along with people? Sure. But if I didn't like somebody that, was part of Jeremy's life or whatever, like, you're not going to stop me from marrying the person I love. Like, unless you were like a murderer, then you were like
Right.
threatening to kill me or something. But
Yeah.
just
I think
because
that he
he
used
didn't,
that as an excuse because he was like, well, I just shut down the physical, like I couldn't grow physically attracted to her past that point, knowing that.
he's
And
like clearly blind,
but
because I like find her to be so beautiful. I'm like, I don't know what you're attracted to then if you don't like her.
but I think that goes back to the spark situation and just like there's
Ah,
an intangible chemistry that you can't logically. Well, it's quite tangible actually, but I just meant like it's an illogical. Like you can't exactly go, okay, because I have seen people who I've thought are very attractive, who have it put together, their life put together, they're great men, but there's no chemistry there.
yeah.
And it's a total chemical reaction that I guess you have or you don't have, and I don't really know everything that's made up of it, but I trust it because I think it's evolutionary, it's in our pheromones. It's like, and I don't like I'm not on birth control. I'm not on like I don't have a bunch of vaccines in my system. I don't have a lot of things. I don't have any vaccines in my system since I was a little kid, but I don't have things that we know disrupt our pheromones and the way we smell. Like there are studies that show that, I mean, it's very well known now. Women that have been on the birth control pill, like when they go off the pill, a large majority of them do not like the way their husbands smell, like the pheromones from their husband. Like they would never have chosen that husband had they not been on the birth control pill.
That's so
It's
interesting.
wild. And like some people have gotten divorced over this, like because they were like, I cannot stand the way he smells. Like, and it's not a smell like that he can change, it's his pheromones.
Yeah.
But all of that I trust because I'm like, that's just the our biology that we can't in our mind put on paper, but it's guiding us and telling us like this is I want to keep you alive and this is the best way to do it.
See, I think all this is funny because I sparked with somebody once, like major sparks. I told you this last time, and they treated me like crap.
I
So now
know.
I think about like this spark, like, and I don't, maybe the spark wasn't there on their side. I have no idea. But I'm like, in my mind, thinking, okay, well, if you had the spark like I had the spark, you would have definitely shown up for me a lot differently than what I felt at the time. So,
Right. But
no.
then my question becomes because I've also like sparked with people before that I'm like, whoa. But then what I realize is a lot of times if I look back at that, I did have like the exact experience I needed
Yeah.
for my own like
But
growth
I think like
or
sparks, I don't know. I think you can make a spark too. Like, I think you can make a spark because, like, last night, for example, my husband was on the porch with our kids and he was like blowing a bubble. And I was like, oh, yeah, there's a spark right there. Like, Like he made it spark. He made a spark.
Yes, I understand.
So
So
I don't know. And
out
like
of
honestly,
curiosity,
when you're 80, are you gonna spark with people who are 80? I don't know. Like when we're 80, we need to discuss this again.
well,
Okay.
my grandparents definitely were still sparking. And it was,
Yeah.
I mean, they would like do big kisses and everything right in the like kitchen in front of you and like Bob Heppel like was yeah. So but well Michael, I have a question just out of curiosity. Um when you sparked with that person before when you were talking about were you on hormonal birth control?
No, I've never taken birth control. Mm-mm.
Oh, good for you, girl.
Never in my whole life. Well, it wasn't something my parents were like, I don't know. I feel like growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, it was like common to turn a certain age and your parents were like, you're on birth control. And that was just not something my parents made it really, they weren't like, abstinence is key, but it was like kind of known, I guess, that, you wanted to wait until marriage, ideally. But yeah, it wasn't anything they didn't push it. I never asked for it. And I just like had no desire because I'd heard horror stories, oh, if you're on birth control, you gain a bunch of weight or whatever. And now that I'm older and I have seen, I don't want to say the light, but
Yeah.
like now that I know
Yeah.
more, I'm glad I never did because I know so many friends of mine who have been on birth control for years and have had like a horrible time getting pregnant. Now, I do have friends that were on birth control for years and didn't have any issues getting pregnant, but I just feel like I don't want to disrupt my body in that way. Like,
Yeah, I think it just disconnects women from their, I mean, there's a lot of reasons and there's a lot of like health and medical reasons. There's the pheromone reason. There's a lot of reasons, but I ultimately one big reason for me, and it's actually intertwined with that whole like mind control thing we talked about at the very beginning of the podcast, um, is that it's a way for it it's a big way that women are disconnected from their own inner knowing and their inner wisdom and the wisdom of their body, the wisdom of their cycle. Like we are connected to the moon, we are connected to the earth, and there's so much wisdom in our infradian rhythm. And we're not meant to work a 40-hour work week, a 9 to 5 day. Like that's all built off of the male circadian rhythm, which we have a circadian rhythm too, but ours is the infradian is more powerful for us in a lot of ways. And so I just feel like, oh, of course, the powers that be in the government, whatever, don't want women connected to this major source of knowing and power that they have. Of course, I'm into like
yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
Conspiracy theories. Well, and that kind of goes back to like what we were talking about earlier, how our faith is a little different. Because I was thinking about this earlier, and I'm like, of course, God has designed all of us with all of these interests and all these passions and all these ideas. And I mean, I do believe we are intricately designed.
Yeah.
So, like when we're talking about, being a projector and all of these things, like there are all these intricate designs and differences. And then there are people who are intelligent enough to like give them names and give them a thing and give them life and give more study to that and information. And um
Yeah.
I think that goes back to like the Ben and Sarah thing. You only know what you know until you've been exposed to it. And yeah, like, okay, we could say Ben's ignorant for not having a strong stance on Black Lives Matter. We can say that. But then, like, I'm sure there are other parts to the world that Sarah could say, she could come up on and say she's ignorant too. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there are places in the world where people don't have access to water. So are you, fighting for that?
Yeah.
Or does that make you ignorant? Like
Or
it's
when,
just not
yeah.
something that is
Or like
is
the
in
water
front of your face
supply in
all the
Flint,
time.
even in Flint, Michigan, the water supply and all the stuff that was going on with that, like, was she like on that bandwagon? Like, anyone
Yeah.
can
So
have a bandwagon. It doesn't, there are a million bandwagons you can be on. Yeah.
yeah,
And
and thank goodness we all have different bandwagons because that's how the world turns. That's how things get done. That's how we take care of other people because we all have different bandwagons we're on. I mean, I just like
yeah,
her whole like he didn't have a strong stance or a strong curiosity. I don't think it makes Ben a bad person, but we're all exposed to different things. Like I grew up in a household with a mom and a dad and a sister. And when I started teaching, I was teaching special ed, like students who are the most severe part of our population. And a lot of them came from foster care and bad homes and had bad behaviors. And it was a world I had never been exposed to ever. And it
yeah,
was such a shock to me that people in this country could come from such horrible things. And I was just like, wow, this is like mind blowing that this world exists inside of my world in the same area of my world. And
right.
until you're exposed to it, you just don't know. Yeah, Ben could have seen it on TV, whatever. But like,
Mhm.
I think that you can't point fingers and judge other people um,
Yeah.
based
I
on the way they grew
completely,
up or based
yeah.
on, those kinds of things, I guess. Like,
Yeah, I completely agree. And I grew up in Appalachia, and there was extreme poverty around
mhm.
me. There were people who, and to this day, probably like can't read. The illiteracy rate just a few years ago was really, really high, and not necessarily right in where I lived, but in not far from me, right? Like in all these areas of Appalachia. And so I think that, like, no one's jumping on that bandwagon. No, or I mean, there are people that do, but what I'm saying is, just because you don't see it in the mainstream media doesn't mean it's not happening, or it doesn't mean that something else is more important. And for me, more than jumping on a particular bandwagon is, well, how do I live my life, and how do I honor others and honor myself, and how do I live in integrity, and like, God,
Yeah.
I care about everyone. And my
Mhm.
viewpoint may be different, but I don't believe that we have to take on one cause, and then and sometimes when that happens, when people take on one cause, they diminish another group of people because they blame those people, or they say those people don't know enough or whatever, but then they're diminishing a group that also has its own set of stuff that they've been through, or maybe not, but then is it their own fault? And like, of course there are privileged people, but there are privileged people in every society, in every race, in every class. And I mean, like, that isn't something that is ever going to change. So what do people do with their privilege, and maybe like not making anyone else wrong or making victims, but just, why don't we like all learn to really be good human beings?
Right. And that was something I had on my notes was like when they come together to these reunions, they are on the attack, like they're out for blood. And that just drives me crazy because I don't feel like it solves anything. And it clearly doesn't, because at one point Sarah was just like, there's nothing else to say because like I'm not getting anywhere.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's hard to get somewhere when I feel like it's just a lot of, in my opinion, like
yeah. And
attacking it.
I will say, I also do find it interesting when white people, especially it's interesting, white women, get on, like, she has this really big, passionate thing about Black Lives Matter,
Mhm.
but like, how does she, I don't know. It's just an interesting dynamic for me. I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to go into all the
Yeah.
details. I
No,
just
I
think
think
it's
that's
an
perfect.
interesting dynamic. And um Yeah, there's so many avenues that people can get fixated on when the truth of the matter is like, are you a good human being? Do you have a connection to yourself and to source? And like it's, and like you were saying, even about like the human designer, like when I talk about astrology or women with infradian rhythm and being connected to the moon, I mean, like if the framework is that God created all of this or that it was created somehow, but let's just use God created it as in like the Christian framework, then of course it makes sense that it's connected because we are made up of basically the same solution as the oceans and saltwater, and the moon pulls those tides. Why would it not pull the tide of our body? Why would we think we're disconnected from anything in nature? Like we are nature, like we're all, everything is interconnected. And that is to me not separate from a Christian framework, or it only like enhances it or brings more of it to light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I like loved this whole topic today. This is so fun. This is
Yeah.
so fun. I loved everything about it.
Me
Yeah.
too. We had a good conversation. We got into some depths, and yeah, I'm interested to see what people think.
Yeah. Let's do maybe we can do more sparking next week along with Farmer Once a Wife, because I don't feel like it's like a lot to talk about. So maybe we
Yeah.
can dig into that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think we should definitely have the spark conversation because
Yeah.
there's so many avenues to go down, and I have like so many thoughts about it, and it's something that I'm constantly like working with in myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. Yeah, because like from your still dating perspective and then my married for 9 years perspective, like, yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. I think that'll be fun. So yeah, come with your spark questions next week. So tune in next week, all 300 and some of you who have downloaded us, and
Yeah. And
we'll
maybe
be
if they have any spark
farmers.
questions,
Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
they could like just DM us on Instagram, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you ever check the email of our podcast? Because
We have like literally one email, which we could link it to this. Actually, we could link it to this and get emails as long as people are not weird.
yeah, but we should see if people like have any
Yeah.
questions about the spark that they want us to talk about.
Yeah. Well, we could even advertise that on our own. Like, yeah. Okay. I have ideas. I'll put it in my stories.
Yeah, do that. And then what do you know off the top of your head what our email is?
Getting Juicy Podcast at gmail.com. I'm pretty sure. Getting Juicy Podcast at gmail.com.
Okay, we think our email is gettingjuicypodcast@gmail.com. If you have any spark questions, send them in. We'll probably record this on Thursday, April 17th.
Yeah.
And yeah, so get them in before then if you have any. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. And we'll also link the email just in case that's wrong.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Okay.
All right. Bye, girl.
Bye.
Bye.